é possível confirmar. Estamos num lugar tranquilo. Loma Linda, na Califórnia, fica a cerca de 100 quilômetros de Los Angeles e desfruta do clima quente da região. Inverno por aqui não tem neve, mas ela pode ser vista no alto das montanhas que cercam a cidadezinha com menos de 50 mil habitantes. Ela faz parte das Blue Zones, ou Zonas Azuis. Foi até tema de um livro que aponta os lugares onde mais se vive no planeta. No mapa é fácil de visualizar. As ilhas de Okinawa, no Japão, Sardenha, na Itália, a península de Nicoya, na Costa Rica, e aqui, Loma Linda, no país mais gordo do planeta. E é isto que chama a atenção por aqui. O fato de ter tanta gente saudável passando dos 100 anos num país onde a obesidade e seus dividendos abarrotam clínicas e fraudam o sistema público de saúde. No país onde a predominância é de comida rápida, rica em calorias, pobre em nutrientes e com muita gordura.
And so that's why in this country we have people who are very heavy, but it's also why we have so much diabetes and we have relatively high amounts of heart disease and a number of different disorders that go along with being overweight. For instance, the African Americans in our country have a particularly severe problem with high blood pressure, and particularly the women tend to be very heavy, and so there's probably some correlation there. Whereas in many other countries in the world we have people who live many fewer years, but that is often because they have diseases associated with malnutrition, infectious diseases, people who are at the other end of the socioeconomic spectrum. But having said all that, the United States is, even though it might be one of the most affluent countries, is not at the top of the list from health. It is many steps down. And in part this is because I think we are too affluent here and we don't know how to control it.
E o controle da saúde parece surtir efeito na silhueta das pessoas. Ou o cuidado com o peso é que acarreta maior saúde. Definitivamente as duas coisas estão ligadas.
And then there is the body weight problem, which of course is a epidemic, almost a pandemic, so many countries. And it turns out that the dietary recommendations I've just made will partially take care of that, but there are other things that people need to worry about aside from the choices of food they make. How much food they eat, the serving size. You can become habituated to very large amounts of food that you don't actually need. And then there's the physical activity, as I've mentioned, which really is important and probably accounts for a couple of extra years of life right there, whether or not you're a couch potato or whether you get out and exercise with some regularity.
We should eat more food, but the right kind. And if you eat the right kind, you can eat more food because it has fewer calories in it. In general, longer life and fewer calories go together. So if you eat foods that have fewer calories, you can expect to have a longer lifespan.
Este médico, especialista em saúde preventiva e professor da Universidade de Loma Linda, é também autor de vários livros, em português inclusive, sobre o estilo de vida. Ele explica que a obesidade está ligada com doenças crônicas sérias e problemas coronários.
This generation will probably live a shorter lifespan than the current present. Let me say this again. This generation will probably live a shorter lifespan than the current generation. And high-tech medicine is not saving us. We need to make better lifestyle choices. How we eat, how we exercise, how we balance our life, less stress, and a more social network-oriented, unselfish lifestyle.
Ou seja, comer menos é viver mais. Este definitivamente é um dos segredos dessa região, onde o lar de idosos é definitivamente um dos lugares mais animados. Evelyn, com 99 anos e uma agenda cheia todos os dias, é um típico exemplo de que a vida pode ser longa e saudável.
So I read all day. I go for a walk in the morning and then I read. So far, they have activities and I join in the activities.
E a história da velhice tranquila?
I need to get something to work on because it's not a good life, not to do anything.
Viúva e mãe de 3 filhos, ela escolheu Loma Linda pela tranquilidade e clima quente. Os filhos visitam sempre, mas ela não quer nem saber de morar com eles.
I don't want to live with somebody like that. They had their own families.
It's a lovely place to live.
Really?
And we have a lot of activities. I put the puzzles out on first floor and also on second floor. And I do the border, and then I put the pieces in trays like this by color. And then anyone can work on them that wants to. Anyone in the villa can come by and put pieces in the puzzle. And it gives them something to do, because there's not much for the men folks to do here.
A senhora Kennedy, de 97 anos, gosta de passar o tempo quebrando a cabeça, literalmente, pois viver bem significa estar em pleno vigor intelectual.
Then there is this whole thing about social connectedness. How are we connected to our community? How is our social life? You know, we are our friends. Who are our friends? And the kind of support we get from our friends, that we get from our family, will help determine the quality of life that we enjoy.
I take no medicine of any kind. I've been eating chocolate candy for 73 years at doctor's orders because of an inactive liver. And
shame.
I eat dark chocolate now, and it's very healthy for you. The Food and Drug Administration put an article in a magazine recently that they're considering putting dark chocolate in medicine, in prescriptions. It's that good for you.
Não tomar remédios parece mesmo ser a regra por aqui. Encontramos o Sr. Thomas, que nos convidou para ir até o seu apartamento, onde morou com a esposa até ela morrer, há 1 ano.
I awaken about 4:30 in the morning and get up, shave, bathe. Then I read from my Chinese Bible, 1 chapter a day in the Chinese Bible. And then I go into English for the Sabbath school lesson. And then by that time, I'm ready to go down to breakfast.
Ele viajou o mundo todo trabalhando na área educacional e foi missionário na China há cerca de 40 anos. E ainda se lembra com detalhes do início do aprendizado com o mandarim.
At first, they taught us to listen to the sounds. They would hold up pencil, B, 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 and the teacher would say B, then we would say B, and if we got it correctly, he would nod his head. If it was not correct, he would shake his head. We tried to learn 20 new characters every day. There are 40,000 single characters in Chinese.
A memória deste veterano e a sua saúde perfeita, mesmo perto dos 100 anos, surpreende. Ele garante que um dos segredos para a felicidade e sanidade mental é ler a Bíblia todos os dias. E ele faz isso em mandarim mesmo, para não esquecer o chinês que aprendeu há tantas décadas. Investe tempo em exercícios para o corpo e mente, lendo livros, jornais e conversando com os amigos.
So Loma Linda does stand out, and as far as we know, we are perhaps the longest lived population that's been described in the world. Now there may be some longer lived, but they have not had the appropriate studies and statistics to prove that point. And of course it's not just here in Loma Linda. The study was actually Seventh-day Adventists who lived all around the state of California. But it happens that the headquarters of the study, and where in fact there are many Adventists, is around here in Loma Linda. But do remember that our study covered the whole of California, but only the people who who were Adventists. And
the Adventist is the main factor.
it appears to be so. And in fact, it's not even perhaps Adventist, although being Adventist is probably part of it, and having, in other words, having a religious connection.
What do I eat? I'm a vegetarian, have been for over 70 years. I've been a vegetarian.
70.
I was written up in the San Bernardino newspaper.
The meals are good here. They're all vegetarian.
So, do you like them?
Yeah, good enough. They do the best they can. They can't please every single person, you know.
I have been a vegetarian for about 90 years. 90 years.
Notou o ponto em comum entre todos eles? A ausência de carne na alimentação. Mas, mais do que não comer carne, eles apostam todas as fichas nas frutas e verduras. Olha a lista de vantagens. Esta lista segue com os benefícios. Parece que um dos segredos para viver mais e melhor passa mesmo pela alimentação.
Probably it accounts for 4 to 5 of those extra years, because it acts directly, but it also acts through, for instance, being overweight. Because we know that our vegetarians are about, on average, 16 to 20 pounds thinner than our non-vegetarian Adventists. They're all Adventists, but those who are vegetarians are 16 to 20 pounds lighter. So that's one effect it has. Then there seems to be a direct effect, which is probably due to the fact that the non-vegetarians eat much more meat, but they eat less fruits, they eat more butter, less whole grain bread, and on and on. It's not just the meat that makes the difference. There are many different differences between vegetarians and non-vegetarians. But one other factor is that our vegetarians tend to be the people, the Adventists, who eat more nuts. And we have shown that nuts seem to be important for heart attacks, at least.
Eles não são vegetarianos total, mas a percentagem de carne que eles usam é mínima. É um pouco de peixe no Japão, na sardinha um pouquinho de carne uma vez que outra. Mas o alimento vegetal, os grãos integrais, as frutas e as verduras é a base da alimentação deles. Então, eles são vegetarianos com um pouquinho de alimentação cárnea. 80%, 90% dos alimentos são vegetais. Então, o segredo para a saúde é aumentar o consumo de frutas, verduras e grãos integrais.